Wajbran Baasil. He was Lebanon's foreign minister from 2014 until this year. Basically, the whole time those highly explosive materials were stored at the port. He's currently a member of Lebanon's parliament and the son-in-law of President Michel Aoun. Baasil is embedded in the government's autocracy. He's also been a frequent target of protesters' fury. Well, you can hear those derisive chants. And what are people upset about? Well, a lack of basic services. Electricity doesn't run for much of the day. In the capital, the value of the Lebanese pound collapsing by more than 60%. There's been an economic implosion while the political classes are accused of squeezing the country dry. Baasil is seen on the street as a key part of that. But he also has his share of supporters. He leads the country's largest Christian bloc in Lebanon's sectarian power system. His party is also an ally of the Iranian-backed Hezbollah. Wajbran Baasil joins me now from Skype. We thank you, sir, for joining us. In the aftermath of the explosion, you tweeted, and I quote here, "The grief of the victims and the devastation is great, but the will of life is stronger than those responsible for the crime. With intent or negligence must be tried." So you seem to imply you believe there may have been intent. What are you suggesting?
Thank you for receiving me first. This is, let me say, divided into two parts. One, there is negligence for no matter what, because since 6 years there is the ammonium nitrate present there in huge quantities. So no matter what is the explanation about this should not have been there for the first part. And there is no justification for this. And those who are responsible for the negligence should be brought to justice. The second part is how this took fire, because we know that it cannot be ignited without another source. So this can be either an accident where the heat with the combustible joined the ammonium nitrate and there was the explosion, or it can be a sabotage act or an attack. So nothing should be ruled out and should be, examined by a thorough investigation to see the reasons.
The president, your father-in-law, the president, Michel Aoun, tweeting in the last hour, suggesting there are two possibilities for what happened. Either he says negligence or external interference by either a missile or a bomb. Which one do you think it is, sir?
I cannot think. I have to abide by an investigation, a transparent and effective investigation. But in all cases, I repeat, there is negligence. And administratively and judicially, there should be an accountability for those who allowed and permitted for a long period of time, 6 years, the presence of such dangerous and hazardous material in the port of Beirut, in the heart of the city.
It is widely accepted that Hezbollah have significant influence over the port where that huge haul of ammonium nitrate was stashed. And most people that we've spoken to find it inconceivable that authorities did not know that that ammonium nitrate was stored in that warehouse. Hezbollah are an ally of yours. Should they be held accountable?
First, the authorities cannot say that they didn't know. Of course, they knew. There were reports. Many reports were revealed in the last 2-3 days that they knew and they warned. So no one can neglect the fact that the awareness is there. Now, if Hezbollah proves to be involved in this, of course he should be held accountable. If he is responsible one way or the other, if the investigation will prove this, he should take his part of responsibility and be held accountable. Now we are talking of city, of the capital of Lebanon that has been devastated. People were killed, people were injured, and this cannot be, forgiven. This is a chance for Lebanon to restore the state of the law. This is the chance for Lebanon to prove that he is willing to change. This is the chance to say that justice is above all. So this is not an act that can be disregarded.
Okay, listen, customs officials repeatedly warned of the need to dispose of this highly combustible material. A security report in late 2019 apparently identified problems with the warehouse where it was being held. I put it to you again, and you have suggested that if Hezbollah are deemed responsible, they should be held accountable. Do you accept that it is widely accepted that they have control over the port? So at this point, the finger of blame points to Hezbollah.
No, we should not accept that the Lebanese authorities, who are well, recruited and paid, are responsible. And they're various, the military and the civil. We have many administrative and governmental officials who are responsible for this, from ministries to customs to the port administration to the intelligence units. So, and even the judges who were referred to take decisions, 3 judges, and the prosecutor general. So no one should be ruled out from any investigation. It is the responsibility first of the Lebanese state to secure the port. Now, what I refer to about Hezbollah, if they are responsible of the presence of the material, or of covering their presence, or of using them, or of being responsible somehow for this accident, yes, they should take their part of responsibility. But it is, at the end of the day, the responsibility of the Lebanese state.
You have been in politics, sir. You have been in politics. Sorry, let me just stop you there. You have been in politics for a decade during which the judiciary has been completely, an independent judiciary has been demolished, effectively. Now you say this is an opportunity for, what, reform at this point? You have been in a position where you have overseen, effectively, as a senior politician, the demise of an independent judiciary.
Yes, there is the truth and there is the perception. I can understand both. I can tell you we've been fighting. We are a force for change. We are fighting for change. We are paying a very high price in politics because we are fighting for this change and for the reforms. And yes, we have to do this in the judiciary. Now, this big drama can be turned into a big opportunity to solve things, to change things. Yes, we have to believe in our country and in our people, and that the corruption is not our destiny. We have to believe in the change. We have to fight for the change, despite all what we are being, facing, and what we are being under sometimes misjudgment. But yes, it is not to allow us not to keep on fighting.
Mr. Basiel, I invite you onto my show today, not because you represent the voice of the majority of Lebanese people, because in fact you don't. For millions of Lebanese, you epitomise the nepotism and corruption of a ruling elite that has plunged this country into the pit of despair. I invite you on today as the leader of the biggest party in Parliament, with significant influence within the government, with oversight over the past decade of the energy portfolio, which has sucked up the equivalent of half of the national debt, and yet power not on for 20 hours a day. I invite you on to ask you whether you will accept personal and professional responsibility for today's crisis.
In Lebanon, you have to understand the system, how it operates. We are the biggest party, the biggest parliamentarian group, but we are only we are 20% of the parliament. So we don't have the majority, nor in the parliament, nor in the government. And that's why we have been fighting for things that were not achieved. So, of course, we have to bear our share of responsibility, not being able to change, but not the share of responsibility of the corruption, because we are anti-corruption. We are against the corruption. We pay the
All right.
price, we pay the price. But we are a democratic country after all. And we accept the
Right,
judgment
and
of
let
the people
me stop you there,
according
because
to
one of the
free
pillars,
elections, you know?
okay, one of the pillars of democracy, and you've just used the word, is accountability. If Lebanon is a democratic system, those in a position of power should be expected to be held accountable for what happens. I put it to you again. Are you not prepared, and should not this government be prepared to be accountable for this incredible situation that the country finds itself in, not least were it to be negligence that caused this explosion, but for the complete economic collapse of the country? Do you accept the fact that you and your colleagues must be held accountable?
You know, everybody who is in a public responsibility should always be prepared for accountability. This is a matter of fact. But not to be guilty of things that he is innocent from, or vice versa. So this is political. I nor my party have any direct involvement in what happened, nor a direct responsibility in the court or anything related to that. But
Okay.
Still we are saying that we should hold our responsibility if we don't follow this matter till the end, till people are the responsible people, not the innocent people.